Hello, I'm Paul, and this is Paul Plays with Fire. Welcome, I'm so glad you're here. On today's show, we're going to be making Neapolitan pizza, and we're going to be making it outside here on the Blackstone pizza oven. Doesn't that sound like fun? The Blackstone pizza oven is perfect for making Neapolitan pizza because it gets hot, and that's just what you need for Neapolitan pizza. I've already done a few things on the Blackstone pizza oven. You may have seen those already. I've got a playlist of things I've cooked in the Blackstone pizza oven. Go check that out, but don't do it now. No, stick around here, watch this now. Go look at those later. First thing about making pizza is to make the pizza dough. So we're gonna go inside and do that now. See you inside. Let's talk about Neapolitan pizza. Most folks consider that the original pizza. They've been making pizza in Naples, Italy for more than 200 years, and they're very particular about how it's done. I'll let my old friend Poindexter explain.
Pizza dough shall only be made by hand, using only flour, water, yeast, and salt. And it shall be allowed to ferment in a cool environment for exactly 3 days.
And we're gonna stick to that as close as we can. Poindexter didn't mention it, but one of the other things is to use 00 flour. Some folks also consider this Manitoba flour. Well, now what we have here is King Arthur 00 flour, and that's an American product, so it's probably North Dakota flour. Manitoba, North Dakota, same thing. Now back to Poindexter.
The tomatoes used for pizza shall be San Marzano tomatoes that have been grown on a volcanic plain in the shadow of Mount Vesuvius.
I also follow this pretty close on my New York style pizza sauce. Open a can of San Marzano tomatoes. Oh, and aren't they good? Open a can of San Marzano tomatoes, put in a little oregano, a little salt, and your pizza sauce is ready to go. Just that simple. Now back to Poindexter again.
The cheese used for making pizza shall only be made with milk from wild water buffaloes that have been allowed to graze in the marshlands of Campania.
Thanks, Poindexter, for that very helpful explanation of Neapolitan pizza. I used to think that buffalo mozzarella was unobtainium in this part of the country. There's just no way you could get it. Then I found out that Whole Foods actually carries buffalo milk mozzarella. Who knew? We don't have any of that today, so we're just going to use some locally sourced fresh mozzarella. Delicious stuff. So let's make some dough. But before we do that, we need to talk about something. If you're gonna be spending this much time in my kitchen, don't you think you ought to subscribe? It's only fair. I mean, come on. Let's make some dough now. So our dough making process starts with 390 grams of water. And remember, there's no sugar in this dough, there's no oil in this dough, just flour, water, yeast, and salt. Just that simple, the very basics. So we have our 390 grams of water. To that, we're gonna add 3 grams of yeast. And normally when I'm making pizza dough, I would add a little sugar in here and then let the yeast proof a little bit. But with no sugar, the yeast doesn't proof very well. So we're just gonna mix it up a little bit. So mixed up. And then we're gonna add 600 grams of our 00 flour, double knot flour as I like to call it. To that, we'll add our 15 grams of salt. Mix that up all good. And I'm using my Danish dough whisk. Very useful because nothing sticks to it. This is a 65% hydration dough, so it's gonna be a little sticky, but I'll show you some tips for how to deal with that when we're stretching the dough later on. And we just want it to get to a nice cohesive ball, a shaggy ball as they call it. And we're just gonna get in there with our hands and get it to all clump together until all the flour is off the sides of the bowl. And we've got one nice clump of flour, one nice cohesive ball. There we go, just that quick. We're gonna let that rest for half an hour to let the flour absorb the water. See you in a bit. Okay, it's been about a half an hour and our dough is shaping up very nicely. It looks like dough. The flour and water have combined to become one. So I said I'd show you a couple tricks on dealing with wet dough. The first is have a little water handy. A little water in a dish, and so I'll dip my little dough scraper in there, and that'll help it free up from the sides without sticking to the scraper. That's pretty good. And then when I go to stretching and folding, that's the technique I'm going to use to prepare this dough. Is I'm going to stretch and fold. We're just going to get a wet hand, reach in there, grab onto it, pull it up as far as it'll go, let it fold back, get a wet hand, pull it up again, let it stretch, and go back in. And one more time, pull it up, let it stretch. Oh, that feels really nice. Put it down, and then we'll let it sit for another 20 minutes or so. We'll do the stretching and folding about 4 more times. And as we're doing that stretching and folding, the dough will continue to gain elasticity and the gluten fibers will form. And when it comes to Neapolitan pizza, that's what you really need, is good, strong gluten. So we'll stretch and fold that for 3 or 4 more times until we get what's called a window pane test, when we can stretch the dough and it will stay together and hold together without tearing enough that you can see light through it. I guess that's why they call it a window pane test. Once we pass the window pane test, we'll cut it into 4 equal sections. Oh, I guess I should have mentioned that sooner. This is enough dough to make 4 Neapolitan pizzas of around 11 or 12 inch pizza size. So we'll divide it into 4 sections, put it in a pan, put each of those four, we'll form a little bit into balls, and then we'll put them in a pan and cover them and put them in the fridge overnight with a little bit of olive oil around them so they don't get sticky. So that's the dough making process right there. After the dough has rested in the fridge overnight, then it'll be ready to use. So we'll see you tomorrow. Well, we've got our dough made, we got our oven preheating, and now we're going to make our sauce. And to do that, we're just going to take a can of ones I talked about inside, fresh San Marzano DOP tomatoes. They're delicious. And we're going to add to that about a teaspoon of oregano and 3 grams of salt. And then we're going to stir that up, but we're just going to use our hands. We're just going to squeeze them, because that's the best way to do it. I like to leave a few chunks, get the tomatoes all broken up, because they are whole plum tomatoes in the can. I'm making a bit of a mess here, but that's okay. I don't mind a few extra pieces, a few big pieces, but we just want all the whole tomatoes broke up. And you got to be careful too, because they'll squirt on you too. There, and just like that, we got pizza sauce. Just that simple. Okay, our oven is up to temperature. It's about where we want it. And we've got our dough here. I'm gonna try and gracefully as I can separate a piece of dough. We got enough pizza here for an army. Got enough pizza for four pizzas. But hopefully we're only gonna make 1 today. Put that into a little flour bath. Both sides. Get that all floured up so it doesn't stick to anybody or anything. And then we'll get in our peel and just give it a little stretch. Gently, but we do want it to be kind of thin. I'm not very good at this. I'm the first to admit it. Stretching needs work. Boy, it's coming out nice and thin, just not very round. Fortunately, Neapolitan pizza is a rustic style where a little bit of imperfection is okay. There we go. We're getting there. Let's get a little semolina on there. Ulta better to launch with. What happened to my shape? There we go. It's back. It's so thin in the middle I can practically read through it. Okay, then we'll add just a nice amount of sauce. Just enough to cover it. Don't want it to get too wet. And keep it away from the edges. Then we'll add our fresh Parmesan. There we go, that's about right. Time to go. Moment of truth, people. That slides. There we go. Now we'll turn that up, because we want it to cook pretty fast. What do you think? That's a pretty good looking pizza, I'd say. But I think we can do better. Let's try it again. Let's try and make a round one this time. Okay, I wasn't happy with that pizza, so we're gonna try another one. Let's just, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Try and gracefully as we can separate it from here. There we go. Put some flour on both sides. Onto the peel she goes. Round, we're thinking round. We're trying for round this time. Pull semolina down. Oh well, still not, it's rounder. It's more round. It's more better. This pizza gets really wet really quick, so you do have to be careful about adding too much of anything, including sauce and tomatoes. And then some fresh mozzarella. There we go. Ready to launch. I think it's ready. There we go. Don't look too close. Have I mentioned that Neapolitan pizza is like the hardest pizza to make? They do everything they can to make it difficult. No olive oil in the pizza dough, which makes it very hard to deal with. It's sticky. No sugar in it, so that it doesn't brown as easy. You have to use actual heat to brown it, and it's just and then the fresh mozzarella and the fresh pizza sauce are very wet, and it's a very challenging pizza. It's kind of like learning to play Little Wing on guitar. It's a rite of passage. It's something you have to do to prove yourself, I guess. I think this one's worse than the first one. It will have to do. Shape does not affect the flavor. I'll see if I can't get that back towards the middle a little bit next time it comes around. Since it's kind of catching fire as it goes by. There we go. Catching fire. Never had a pizza catch fire before. Yikes. What a mess. Done playing for today. Okay, there you go. It's not perfect, but it's still pizza. That looks pretty good. Okay, here we go. Going in. Got my new pizza knife. Father's Day present. We'll let that cool just a little bit. We check out the undercarriage. Oh, it looks good. Look at the char on that thing. It looks really nice. Like I said, it's not a pretty pizza, but this is a very challenging style. That's good. Oh, the crust is so good. See the undercarriage? Well, that's good pizza. Well, I may never do it again, but we made Neapolitan pizza today. It's a challenge, but it's still fun. I'm Paul, and this has been Paul Plays with Fire. Thanks for watching.